So here's a pretty cool marching progression, specifically for if you tend to go into extension when you, lumbar extension when you squat or when you hip hinge, right? So you end up feeling, you just find stability in your lumbar spine or your erectors, and they always feel super tight, like when you're squatting and stuff like that. I like this a lot. This is two things that I do after I do a 90-90 hip lift. And if you're not sure what that is, check out my channel, and there is another video there. So I'll do the 90-90 hip lift, and then I'll come do these guys in preparation for my squatting, my deadlifting, anything like that. To number one, the first thing is to create some core stability, and then number two, the second thing is to really prime my glutes and prime this hip hinge, to really kind of differentiate between hip extension and lumbar extension. So here's the things, right? Number one, any kind of, so we're gonna do a march. Rearrange this. So this is kind of a march progression that you can do. And I'm using this band distraction or whatnot to really engage my lats and make it even a little more challenging. Like you would in a squat, right? So you're gonna engage your lats, you're gonna pull that bar into your lats. So the progression is, number one, pulling the bar into the lats, kind of flattening out that back a little bit, bracing gently in the core, and you're just gonna slowly pick up one foot, place it back down, pick up the other foot, place it back down, right? This is number one, right? Shoulders backing out, so your shoulders are not up by your ears, right? They're packed backing down, the lats are engaged. Number two, you're just gonna elevate, tap the heel. So again, the same thing, right? We're working on hip extension without extending our lumbar spine, right? Without arching in the back. So again, just tapping that heel down, exhale, inhale, exhale. If that feels pretty solid, what I'll do is I'll next go into just this single leg lowering, doing the same thing, just actively, again, just challenging my ability to extend at my hip and not in my lumbar spine. And then what I'll do is I'll just come into this like variation of a dead bug. And even though this is not as challenging on my core, I have to really organize at my hip joint to do it. It's not as challenging on my core as that single leg lowering, right? But I have to stay super, super engaged and pay attention at that hip joint. Otherwise, it's gonna wanna move all over the place. Next thing I'll do is a cook hip bridge, cook hip bridge. Ball, this is kind of like a little bouncy ball, right? Kids ball, like 5 inches in diameter. You're gonna wedge it in between your thigh and your ribs. And then you're just literally going to drive those hips up. Now the key is, like, what I like to do is just place my hand on my butt and just focus on extending at that hip. Now I'm kind of limiting, by locking this into position, I'm limiting myself from being able to extend at that lumbar spine. So I'm just really finding, well, what is my range of motion at that hip joint? And then again, really just activating that glute. For a lot of people, extending at the hips, they tend to just feel it in their lumbar spine and their hamstrings, right? Or even their calves. So this really tends to help out. Hand on the butt, ball placed right there, thigh and ribs. Just focus on driving that hip up. Squeezing from the hip, squeezing from the glute, right? Fire the glute, drive to the heel. Fire the glute, drive to the heel. Hope this is helpful. So what I do to prep for squats, deadlifts, really any kind of hip hinging, swings to a large extent.